Great, I have no face showing. Even though I hit start video.
Enter.
I see 13 people logged in so far, but I'm still missing quite a few people. Anybody else have trouble logging into the TCC Edu website like 10 minutes ago? Okay, so I need to wait because it locked me out and said that it was unavailable. So I'm wondering if other people are having the same problem.
I'm assuming it's just a high amount of traffic at this time.
I was looking for the Zoom link for a long time.
The Zoom link is embedded in the bottom of the Canvas shell.
Yeah, I find it, but some people might not find it. Maybe you
Okay.
can email.
Because I didn't put it in the syllabus. I put it as a separate link, hoping that that would make it more obvious. See, I have 14 people logged in. When I looked at my roll a couple of hours ago, there were 23 people registered. I know that Zoom crashed yesterday. I'm hoping it doesn't crash again today. Crashed yesterday morning.
I haven't heard any reports about that today yet.
I don't see anybody else in the waiting room waiting to do the admit thing, so I don't know.
Yeah, I would really recommend you to. There is on the chat one lady say that it was not obviously. Yeah, I was looking for like 5-10 minutes because most of the professors send it by email or on a notification or something. It was a little bit difficult to find the Zoom link.
I didn't even know that there was a way to send it by email.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't know. That's why I loaded it into the Canvas shell, so.
Yeah, it was also like the very bottom, and I only saw it because I was like looking at like assignments and everything for the semester, and I saw it at the very bottom because I was confused about that for a while. And then when I opened it, the link isn't a hyperlink. You gotta like, or at least me, I had to copy and paste it, and there's a lot of other things like different types of links and mobile numbers that confused me as well.
Yeah, I had to copy and paste the link.
I followed the instructions because back in the spring, when I taught 112, they told us just do it any way you can. So this summer, they told us that we weren't actually supposed to schedule it through the Canvas shell. They told us that we were actually supposed to schedule it through the Zoom function because that allows me to do a every Tuesday repeating and an every Thursday repeating. That's how we were told to, that's how I was told to do it. So I don't know.
There's probably going to be a little initial confusion and a little bit of a learning curve with this whole Zoom thing. This is my first time using it yesterday.
Yeah, it's like everybody's.
Does the meeting ID and password stay the same throughout the
Yes,
semester?
that was supposedly the advantage to doing it through the blue box of Zoom instead of through the Canvas part, was the fact that it gives you the exact same code and password for the entire semester.
Okay.
And somebody asked me about internet connections, and this is supposedly being recorded, and okay, I don't know how to load it from the recording that's in the cloud up to the Canvas shell right at the moment. I will find out. But it should appear later. It might take me a day or so to get that kind of hooked together.
So over the summer semester, they were having the same difficulty where you weren't able to access the recording from the Canvas shell, but if you send out a link to the recording, then we're able to view it that way.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find a way to like load it directly to the shell. If not, I will concoct some other way to cut and paste it so that it's viewable. Yeah, actually, see, somebody talks about, see, I've done some YouTube loading already. Because some of you have me for lab, and I did a lab tour, and then today I loaded up a here's how titration works kind of thing. And I did that several times last semester where I filmed it on my phone and uploaded it to YouTube. And then of course I can open my channel and do a cut and paste. So that might be how I have to do it. I'm not entirely sure. This is a learning curve on my end too. Yeah, we did it some, because I didn't teach, there were no chemistry classes in the summer. But I taught obviously chemistry last spring, including after spring break when everything went crazy. But none of those were recorded. So I did some self-recording that I posted, especially for the first couple of chapters after spring break, that helped people kind of keep up with this. So we're gonna try. I'm gonna try to provide as many possibilities as I can, because I know that lots of people are having connectivity issues. Some people have work issues because things have changed. So we're gonna try this as much as I can. I published all the notes for like the next 5 chapters, so that should give you also some update stuff. Hopefully we can get this to work. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen for the syllabus so we can talk about the syllabus a little bit. Should I put somewhere? Okay, why is it not letting me share? Hang on. I have to shut down something, I think, to have it let me share. No, it's being uncooperative. Share screen. Ah, there, okay. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this. This is the syllabus that's loaded up to the Canvas shell. So this is like the header and all that's up the top of it. You should be able to download this if you so choose. So there is one thing that I did not correct. I know it says office hours are 4:30 to 5:30, meaning in the lab, because I always get there an hour before lab starts in case people need to come ask me questions. I am no longer teaching the Wednesday lab. Dr. McHugh is teaching the Wednesday night lab. So that will change. I can Zoom for office hours. Please send me email. You can send it to either email address. Right at the moment, I've been, the one that says Verizon.net, that's on my computer, which I usually leave open most of the time. But the past week or so, I've been trying to log into my work email a couple of times a day at least, to check up to see what people are sending me, and so I can get responses. So you can try either email. You can try the TCC Edu one, or you can try the Verizon.net. It doesn't really matter a great deal to me one way or the other. Both are valid ways to try to get hold of me. All right, let's see if this thing scrolls correctly. All right, there's a whole bunch of table of contents stuff. We have this, if you're not familiar, we have this thing for the whole college that uses a template when we're doing syllabus design. So we all kind of have similar opening pages and all. You should have, and they keep changing the numbers on this. I think these are correct. for the current thing. Basically what it means is you should have had college algebra. Now, if you've had more, great. If you are concurrently in college algebra, that's supposed to be okay. But you should have had hopefully algebra in high school or something previous, or have already taken it before you take this class, because there's a fair amount of algebra at various points during the semester. Because this is the lecture part, not the lab part, I didn't really update my safety thing. Obviously, for all of you who have lab with somebody, either me or somebody else, it also should probably say, and bring your mask. Keep in mind the closed-toed shoe thing. I know it's summertime. Lots of people forget. So a reminder, throw a pair of sneakers in your car, leave them there for like the whole semester. So at worst, when you get to lab, you have to walk back out to your car. You don't have to go buy a pair of shoes. There's a whole bunch more kind of mishmash here about the quantitative reasoning and the scientific reasoning. Again, this is sort of a system-wide thing. So our textbook can be acquired two ways. If you don't mind having a PDF one, they are completely free. You can go to the website that is there, do a cut and paste, and you should be able to download it. Granted, it is a massive file, but not as big as some gaming files. And you can download it, and it is OpenStax, which means it's basically shareware, and we have used that as a way to kind of deal with making it more easily accessible for all of our students. So, actually, flip back up a little bit there. The other thing you could do is you could actually order them from Amazon. And in the world of textbooks, this is actually pretty cheap, okay? And it's a 2-semester textbook. They cost around $55. You can order them off of Amazon. They're a big orange book, about 4 inches thick. But it is good for both 111 and 112. Now, the same is true for the lab manual. Now, I am uncertain if the lab manual can be bought online. You might actually have to go to the MacArthur Mall, Barnes & Noble, which is basically the Norfolk campus bookstore. There are 4 campuses, obviously, for TCC: Norfolk and Beach and Portsmouth and Chesapeake, and we all use different lab books. So I cannot offer you a guarantee that, for instance, if you went to the bookstore there on the Beach campus, that it should have Norfolk campus ones available, but I haven't checked. So I'm not absolutely sure about that. You do really need a lab book. Like I said, the PDF is fine if you're cool about.
This one will not work, right?
Excuse me?
This one will not work, right?
No, I don't even know what that is.
It's a lab book for Virginia Beach campus.
Oh yeah, no, we don't use one that's even. Yeah, we don't use the same one.
I guess. All right, I'll order another one.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. I thought I heard a ding ding that implied that somebody was in the waiting room. I'm trying to. Actually, let me go get my lab book. Okay. Meditate on Baby Yoda while I go get my lab book.
Did anyone else get the green book?
Yeah, I think she meant the green book with the orange lettering.
Yeah, that might be right.
And I don't know anything about a lab book because Barnes & Noble didn't say anything about that.
All right.
They don't say
Okay, that
anything
looks
about
reversed
it.
to me.
It's just
This is the lab book. Okay. And it Chem 111, 112, and it says Norfolk only on it. They cost about $40. Like I said, I don't know if the other campuses are actually carrying the Norfolk version also or not. I'm really kind of uncertain about that. Oh, and somebody said that their textbook is green. Yeah, actually, I have seen green ones. I have seen green ones that apparently are printed by a different manufacturer. And I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think it makes a difference whether it's the orange one or whether it's the green one.
Will the lab book matter depending on who you're taking the course with?
No. Everybody on the Norfolk campus uses the same lab book, and we use it for 2 semesters.
Okay.
I was under the impression that I'm signed up for the Virginia Beach lab. I don't know how that changed.
Oh, no, I don't know. I didn't even think that was possible. I don't think because we not only don't follow the same lab book as Beach, we don't even use the same textbook as Beach. So if the SIS system allowed you to register for a Beach lab and a Norfolk lecture, there's a flaw in the system.
Is Thomas McHugh a Norfolk professor?
Yes.
Okay.
He's a buddy of mine. He teaches the Wednesday night lab and the Friday morning lecture. And I think Mr. Wheaton teaches the Friday afternoon lab. I'm not absolutely sure about that, but I think so.
I've got it here. McHugh does the 2 o'clock lab,
Okay.
2 p.m.
Yeah, so McHugh, Wheaton, and Senyuk are the other 3 people who teach for the Norfolk campus.
Okay.
All right, so hopefully everybody can get a lab book in the next week or so, hopefully. So
do you log us in for lab? I mean, I seen your email. It said we were supposed to Zoom meeting the first one, but if you're not the professor, then how does that work?
Oh yeah, if it was Wednesday, I'm assuming he's going to post a link or send out an email. I don't know. Yeah, if you're registered for the Wednesday lab, I originally was supposed to teach it, but then they changed it because one of his classes didn't have enough students. It only had 2 students registered, so they canceled it. So he is teaching the Wednesday lab. So he hopefully is going to be sending out emails or turning on his shell tonight, I would assume. I Zoomed with him last week, but I haven't seen him since then. So calculators, okay? You need a calculator specifically capable of doing scientific/exponential notation. I am fond of the Sharps and Casios. TI's suck wind. I know that conflicts with a lot of things that the public high schools teach, but the TI calculators were actually not designed for science use. They were designed for business use originally. So all of the functions that scientists, physics, chemistry, etc., use are 2nd and 3rd functions on TIs, which makes them a lot less user-friendly, in my opinion. I am not fond of TIs, but use whatever you are most comfortable with, okay?
What was your recommendation?
I like Casios and Sharps. Casios come in everything from the $13 ones you can buy at Walmart up to, okay, my son has a Casio 9000 because he's a mechanical engineering student. He has one that does practically everything but make you coffee. And they cost a couple $100, but you can buy the $13 ones. They are perfectly adequate for the uses that we're going to make out of them.
Besides brand, do you have a specific model number
Um,
or like a? Do you have? You can show us like.
yeah. Let me go grab mine off my desk. This is my favorite one. Like I said, I'm not sure. I can't tell if you're seeing it reversed. I look like I'm seeing it reversed. This is a little Casio. I bought it like 2 years ago. It says FX 115 ES, and it has the full range of stuff here that's available there. Are you guys seeing me up in the corner? Or are you only seeing the screen
Yes,
share?
ma'am.
If we click on your screen, you expand.
Okay.
Yeah, I can still see you.
Do we actually have to have like a separate calculator for this? I've been using Excel and MATLAB.
So this is another one of these things where I think you can maybe get by with whatever works. However, there has been a plan, we'll call it, by the department that we were going to do at least one of the tests this semester as a face-to-face test. And I still don't know what the status of that is. Some people said that yes, this is going to happen, and we were actually going to have at least one test in October that was face-to-face. For that, you actually need a calculator. Okay, you need something with no internet connectivity. For the purposes of doing homework and lab stuff, it doesn't matter what you use. For the labs, or for the tests, I am uncertain exactly what criteria, other than you have to take it in the Canvas browser. Other than that, it should be whatever works. Usually most people have luck though with having a separate calculator so that if you're working on a problem on paper, before you answer the problem on the screen, that you can like look at your screen. I don't have a really good answer for that. My suggestion right at the moment is going to be some form of calculator that allows you to do exponents and logs. If that changes, I will definitely let you guys know. I'm not really sure exactly how this is all going to work out. We punted seriously last spring in terms of whatever got the job done. We're trying to be a little bit more uniform this semester, but yeah, even that's not great. You can scroll down and look at the learning outcome stuff on your own. That's just a list of all the things we're basically covering. Talks about topics. So let's talk about breakdown of the class grading system. So there's 4 tests. Basically, each test covers 2 to 2.5 chapters. Test 1, chapter 1 and 2, test 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and then 7, 8, and half of 9, except actually I kind of recited them in the wrong order because we're doing chapter 9 at a different spot in the semester. But anyway, 2 to 2.5 chapters for each test. You're allowed to drop one. So you have to take at least 3 of those tests. I recommend taking all 4 if at all possible so that you have the ability to drop one. I do graded homework. If you've looked at the Canvas shell a little bit, I've already loaded, I think, up through chapter 9. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, because 9 actually occurs after chapter 4. Those have already been loaded. So homework is not from your textbook. Homework is something I designed. And there are instructions I'm going to go through here in a minute that talks about how you turn in your homework. Somebody pointed out that there is no homework under chapter 3. All right, I need to go back and have a look at that then. I wonder if I didn't load it correctly or if I didn't publish it correctly. I'll have to go back and look at that. All you need to worry about right at the moment is chapter 1. I will definitely go back and have a look at 3 and 5 then.
And there's no issue with working ahead?
No, you can work ahead if you are familiar with the topics. That's up to you. I will give you due dates as we get through information, because it wobbles even in normal reality. Due dates tend to wobble a little bit for homework because it depends upon how fast we go through stuff. So graded homework. Each one is out of a particular number of points, and they're not all the same. I think like the first homework is like 63 points, and like the second homework is 83 or something. So what I do is I add up all the homework points at the end of the semester. And then it's like however many you got out of however many are possible. Usually there's somewhere on the order of 470 points, kind of, sort of. And somebody emailed me. Hang on for a second. Let me try to reply to.
Are we able to turn in homeworks multiple times? So if we do it early
No.
and turn it in? Okay.
No. Yeah, no, you're only allowed to turn it in one time. For one thing, I don't have that many hours in my week to regrade and regrade and regrade. That's something that I'm not gonna change just because we're digital. Once you turn it in, it's done. Now I did do something a little bit different here from previous semesters. I changed 2 percentage points from the homework, because it used to be homework was 15, because I actually saw everybody face to face. I have a discussion loop that's on the Canvas shell. Right at the moment, it just says introduce yourself, okay? In the upcoming weeks, I will probably post some topics about, like, we've been talking about nomenclature, talk about methods you might have used for figuring out how to memorize the polyatomics. Those sorts of things are probably going to appear in discussion. It's not worth very much. It's just trying to get people to kind of interact with each other a little bit more, because we're all sitting in our houses doing this pretty much. So that's why I only put 2 percentage points. It's just to try to foster a little bit more interactivity between the students. Some of you have me for lab, not everybody. Across the board, though, in our department, lab is worth 25% of your grade. We're a 4-credit class. Therefore, 1 out of the 4 credits, or 25%, is your lab work. My final exam is not bottom heavy either. It is worth the same amount, 15%, as all the other grades. However, you cannot, it's not an optional and it's not a drop. You can't say, oh, I'm happy with my grade and I'm just not going to take it. That is equivalent to a 0. I have a reason for this, because since I allow a dropped grade in the tests, I ran into the problem of some people, if they had, say, 3 Bs, and then they didn't show up for the 4th test, and they were happy with a B, they didn't show up for the final either, so they never ever got tested on the last 2.5 chapters of the semester. And I'm sorry, but from a professor point of view, that griped me mightily. So this is why my final exam is not droppable. You can drop the 4th test if you want. If you're happy with your lab or your test grades, you could not show up for the 4th test or not take it, but you have to take the final exam. Standard 10-point grading scale. Graded homework assignment for each chapter. So here's how the submission, because I did something really hard to deal with back in the spring, and I'm trying to make it a little more straightforward. all of the homeworks are a Word document. So download them. It's up to you whether you want to print them or not. That's up to you. You might want to print them just so you can like write on them. Reopen the document, type your answers in, show me as much work as you can, save it as the same name, but put your name at the end. And look at my little example there. So like, for instance, chapter 4, and the reason it says V2 is because I had fiddled with an earlier version and then I updated it, and then so it's V2 for version 2. If I was turning it in, it would be homework chapter 4, V2, and then put your last name in and save it. And that way it will allow you to upload docx and PDFs through the Canvas system, and I will pop them open and manually grade them essentially, and then enter a grade. I don't think I can make comments. I will eventually post answer keys though, and go through the answer keys. So you will actually have some idea on what you got wrong. I don't think I can make comments via this submission method. So you may have to send an email if you're really stuck on what you did wrong. I usually set the due date for midnight, because since we're doing this digitally, that's just kind of the easiest way to do it. The next day that we have class, after homework is due, I'll post the answer key, and then I'm going to go through them so that you actually have some idea on what you did wrong or how you should best do a problem. Again, it just kind of goes over that whole thing of number of correct versus total number of points is how your homework score is calculated. It's a weird number of points. It's like 470, 480, something like that. I would like people to hopefully post to the discussion loop at least 4 times during the semester. I'll probably do it every couple of weeks or so as we go through this. It's just, like I said, trying to make sure people are interacting a little bit. So here's the basic how things are going to progress. So this is week 1. Intro, syllabus stuff. We're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to talk a little bit here at the end of the night about some of the chapter 1 stuff. Next week, onward into chapter 1, probably a little smidge of chapter 2 at the end of the week. This is a Tuesday, Thursday lecture, so Labor Day doesn't impact the lecture portion of this. Once we get through chapter 2 and go over both homework sets for 1 and 2, then I will schedule the test for chapter 1. But in the meantime, we will probably go ahead and start chapter 3 because we only have 16 weeks. 3 and 4, another test. Then we're going to hop forward in the textbook a bit. We're going to hop forward to chapter 9, which is about gas laws. After gas laws, we'll hop back to chapter 5, thermochem. Also note, toward the end of October is your W date. Keep that in mind. In fact, I actually don't know if I know that I'm thinking that it's the 26th, I think. Double check it with the academic calendar. I know it's the week of the 24th, but I'm not sure if it is actually the 24th. I don't know if I updated that or not. I probably should have checked. I've forgotten at this point. There's too many things going on. We do not have class on election day. Okay, there are no TCC classes that day. Finish chapter 5, chapter 6. The test will be on 9 and 5. Then we'll do 6 and 7. There's no class on the Thursday that is Thanksgiving. We will finish up the last remaining bits of chapter 8. And there'll be a final test. Hopefully, the Tuesday of exam week will be kind of a review day. And then the final exam to the best of my knowledge, will be the Thursday of that week. Because all lecture and lab, I think everything is done by the 18th of December. Questions on kind of the general pattern for this? All right. There's the obligatory blurb about the COVID stuff. Usually this is again, it's kind of a department-wide thing. If the 6 labs out of the 12 labs that are being done this semester, the 6 labs that are actually face-to-face and not digital, you have to do them to turn them in. We are still in the process of working out the bugs of what happens if somebody gets sick and can't come to make that up. I mean, like sick as in contagiously sick. A lot of this is kind of a rehash. I will try to be, like I said, as available as possible. Send me email, all those sorts of things. If you think you're gonna be turning in something exceedingly late, send me email so we can discuss it. One thing that really hasn't changed a whole lot is you got to do the homework. Okay, you got to do the homework because, for one, it's not book homework, it's my homework. I designed it, therefore it will mimic a lot of the style of the test questions that I will ask you in terms of how I put the information together. So doing the homework is definitely your key to making this work. I usually don't do stuff late. There was the weirdest in the spring. We all gave everybody an extra 24 hours in the spring that kind of may not happen this time. Usually the deal is once you turn in your final exam and all of that, you're done. Check Canvas frequently. This is our best bet right at the moment. If you have me for lab, feel free to ask me things about lecture in lab. I'm obviously not really taking attendance, okay? I don't really have an easy way to do this via Zoom. I don't even know if it records how many students actually logged in. I'm not really sure about that. So this is our standard attendance policy, but that may become not super relevant. I'm not entirely sure about that. All the rest of this is this is stuff we just all cut and paste directly into the system. And again, I'm not sure if I actually put in the right date. You may have to check the academic calendar about the W thing. Yeah, I'm not absolutely sure about that. So you can like scroll through all of this at some point and have a look at the syllabus and decide if there's any extra questions that you need to send me about that. Anybody else? Other than the fact that I definitely need to go back and check the homework stuff that may or may not be loaded correctly for the later chapters of homework. Any other questions regarding syllabus stuff?
Yeah, your homework said it could also be submitted as a PDF file. So
Yes.
if I was to print it out, show my work from, right on the paper, scan it, and then send it in, probably with Adobe as a
Yeah, that's
PDF.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, because either way, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to pop them open, and I'm probably going to be sitting here literally with a sheet of notebook paper and a list of like problem numbers and record your score. Is the only easy way I can do that as far as a way to allow you guys to submit digitally. I mean, what I did in the spring semester was I had everybody scan stuff and submit it. So yeah, that's doable.
Okay.
Okay. I have a question really quick for homework. I kind of noticed that there isn't a hard due date on most of it. It's all open.
I have not put them in yet.
Oh, okay.
Because, like, for instance, because it took a lot of people a lot of extra time to log in tonight, I probably won't get as far into the beginning of chapter 1 as I thought I might. Due dates happen as we get near the end of a chapter, and then I will put the due date in.
Okay. And that'll just be the same for every one of them. It's not like we can see what the due dates are going to be for everything.
No,
Okay.
it's like that's gonna, because it's gonna flux a little bit as the semester progresses, and that's just kind of the way it always works, because I never know exactly how long it's going to take me to cover a chapter. Since I don't PowerPoint, okay, I have notes, but I talk a lot about the stuff in the notes a lot, and sometimes we go faster and sometimes we go slower. So I can't give you an absolute due date until we get close to the end of a chapter.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
And yeah, I'll put those in as they approach. But we are doing it sequentially. We are doing the chapters in the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 5, 6, 7, 8. So don't push off doing 9 until the end of the semester, because it's actually in the middle.
Okay.
Other questions? All right, let me see if I can open up my notes.
I got a quick question. Do any homework, right? With your homework, will the answers come from the book or from the chapter itself, or you say you do your homework? We will be able to look in the chapter and get the answers, right? I know you don't like us. You're not so fond of the book.
Homework.
Oh, so we use your notes that you post?
Yes. Homework is mostly problems.
Okay.
Feel free to use the textbook for the pattern. Feel free to use the notes for the pattern. But homework isn't yes or no questions.
Okay.
Homework is doing the math. Homework is writing the reaction.
Gotcha.
So it's going to involve, I mean, yeah, definitely consult your book and consult the notes, and you can watch YouTube if you want. As far as homework goes, it's learning how to do the types of problems.
All right.
All right, let me see if I can share my chapter 1 stuff then. Where did it go? There. All right. So this should be the file that is loaded to Canvas. And although I'm doing the chapters in a specific order, one of the things you may notice is I only sort of vaguely follow the order of the chapter. I'm old. I've been doing this for a really long time. I have a method to my madness in the order in which I like to do certain subjects. Some of this, like it says, only kind of sort of follows the order of the chapter. So not exactly. So into at least a little bit of real chemistry tonight. Pretty much everything we do is chemistry. We don't think about it, okay? I have like a glass of lemonade sitting here on the table, and that's chemistry because it has sugars and it has liquid and it has food coloring and it has some other stuff in it. All of that's chemistry. Whatever clothing you're wearing, that's chemistry. Whatever you're sitting on, that's chemistry, and physics too. All of those things, we don't think about it unless you're people like me. Okay, most people don't think about it that way. All of that stuff is revolving around chemistry. So we hit a more formal definition. So we can say the study of composition, that's how it's put together, and the structure of the materials. But we also need to understand the changes. Now, as we get deeper and deeper into this chapter and other chapters, some of those changes are physical. and some of them are more strictly chemical. Even things that go wrong, okay? If you see my little blurb there about the Post-it notes and the super glue, 3M Corporation, in their attempt to design a better version of super glue, this is like 20 years ago, ended up creating an adhesive that they discovered you could stick and unstick a whole bunch of times in a row before it kind of lost its stickum entirely. And in the beginning, a bunch of people who worked for the company went, yeah, just make us some paper that like we can stick to things. And of course, now it's a whole subset of like their products. It's like, you know, Post-it anything. Most all of us, if you have a desk in your house, chances are you have a stack of Post-it notes on it. Even things that went wrong often have chemical reasons for why they either worked or didn't work. And it may ultimately affect what they're used for in the long term. So if we divvy up chemistry into big branches, if you go to grad school in chemistry, usually after you've finished your bachelor's degree, you embrace one of these subcategories for your graduate studies. There's the organic ones. Okay, organic actually is a class in and of itself. There's 2 semesters of it that are taught by TCC. If you go over to Norfolk State or ODU, they have a 3rd semester of straight up organic that is available. But it's all about the carbon. Carbon is king if you're taking organic classes. Most of what we do this semester is the non-organic stuff. Yeah, there's a little carbon in there too, but it's not quite the be all to end all that it is when you are doing organic. Most of ours in both first semester and a lot of second semester are inorganic things. There's physical chemistry. I endured 2 semesters of physical chemistry. Here's a description that doesn't actually jive with the definition there. If you can envision the absolute worst facets of inorganic chemistry and combine them with the absolute worst facets of calculus, yeah, that's physical chemistry. It's a really evil class. On a more definitional note, we've got studying the properties and the transformations of matter. We pay a lot of attention to intermolecular forces. We pay a lot of attention to quantum theory in physical chemistry. You'll get a little quantum theory later this semester. Not a lot, but some, 1 chapter worth. Biochemistry. That's me. My graduate degrees are in biochemistry. Both my finished one and my unfinished one. I didn't finish my PhD. I got kind of derailed. Life happened. But biochemistry is really my bag. A lot of the things I am really passionate about in my career are based on biochemistry and pharmacology and other related topics there. But it's all about the living things, okay? Plants, animals, people, etc. That's your biochem. Analytical is, okay, ID for identification of materials, both qualitative and quantitative. Now, I actually did some analytical stuff career-wise along the way. I worked for an environmental lab for a while, and one of the things that clients would come in occasionally and go, can you figure out what this is? And like they have something in a jar. And we're like going, okay, give us a clue. What do you want us to find out about it? Well, I don't know. What is it? It's like, and how much is it going to cost? Okay, that's the big key there. And it's like, if you want me to identify it and I have no clue what it is, the cost is probably going to start in the thousands and go up from there. Because if you have no idea what you're looking at, it could be anything. Now, the quantitative end of thing, the lab that I worked for did a lot of that very specifically. We did a lot of lead analysis. Realtors and people doing remodeling would bring us paint chips and go, is this lead-based paint? Also, since this is the Norfolk area, there's lots of ship remodeling going on a constant basis. The companies that do that sort of thing would also bring us samples and go, well, I'm about to sandblast this ship for this compartment, and do I need to worry about lead? So we did a lot of quantitative analysis for lead and also for a lot of other heavy metals, things like chromium and selenium and some other things that we were sort of routinely analyzing for. So all of those are facets, and you'll get a little bit of a lot of these little snips as the semester progresses, but the inorganic is going to be the big picture part of it. So if you're studying chemistry, actually anything that's scientific, you don't want to be really kind of like scattershot about it. Think about, okay, the whole mess that our entire, world is stuck in right at the moment, virus, okay? Obviously, you'd like to be able to gather data as precisely as possible, but there are people involved, and people and data and all of the facets of that. And so sometimes it's harder than you think in terms of following the scientific method, because you have to go through steps. A lot of this is stuff you're introduced to in middle school. You've probably heard scientific method stuff before. So we're gonna kind of divide it up into 3 big steps here. We've got making observations. 2 big kinds. There's the qualitative kind. What is it? There's the quantitative kind. How much or how many? So colors and odors and all sorts of other observations may be qualitative, but knowing things like how many grams, how many liters, how many milliliters, that's all going to be your quantitative stuff. Well, once you have a whole bunch of observations, then you get around to the formulating hypothesis phase. And the idea usually you hope for is coming up with a plausible and logical reason why. You also hopefully have a testable hypothesis, something that you can do an experiment with and determine whether or not your hypothesis is correct. So then you get to the last step. Well, now you've got to do the tests. You have to perform the experiments. And were you completely wrong? Okay. Or were you right in as much as you contested? Are you close, but not quite on the mark? So I have 2 different tales here. One has to do with a hot water heater. So one of the houses that I lived in a while back had a hot water heater in the garage because it backed up to where the laundry room was. So one morning I tromped out to the laundry room area to throw a bunch of stuff in there, and I realized that there's water on the floor. Well, my initial observation, water on the floor, okay, cold water on the floor. I thought something had spilled. So hypothesis, okay, spill. Well, by putting a towel down into the puddle, I'd assumed I would wipe it up and it would be done. Except the water kept coming back. So my experiment was the putting the towel down and attempting to wipe it up, but my hypothesis was wrong. okay? Because when the experiment was, oh, I'm going to clean it up, and it didn't work, so I had to revise my hypothesis. So at some point, I opened the garage door and I have new observations. The sound of water, running water. So now I have new observations, new hypothesis. And you go around in circles, okay? A lot of times it's not a one-shot deal. It's not a go through the system just once and you're done. In the real world, if you're an adult, a lot of times it's a matter of how many times you have to go around the circle in order to figure out whether you're right or wrong. So here's a more amusing tale. So my daughter, who is now 17, when she was small, she was the queen of the stickers. So my husband goes into the bathroom one morning and picks up the toothpaste tube. There are Band-Aids at numerous spots on the toothpaste tube. So we've got observation. He didn't count them, but anyway, there were a lot. So being that she liked to stick stickers on things, the hypothesis was they were decorative. Okay, because they were colored. They were like, blue and green and red and all that kind of thing. So she was decorating the toothpaste. So the testing of the hypothesis, well, I could just peel them off and throw them away. The hypothesis was wrong. When the Band-Aids were removed from the toothpaste tube, there were holes. There were holes underneath where all the Band-Aids were. So, new observation. Because when you're 4, Band-Aids fix everything, even holes that you punctured into the toothpaste tube. Okay, granted, we're talking little kid logic here versus adult logic, but it's still kind of sort of scientific hypothesis because you're working your way through the problem and you're either confirming or denying the thing that you are trying to test. So if you get a whole bunch of hypotheses, okay, back to the COVID problem. So we're in the phase of the longer it goes on and the more observations we have by all of the medical professionals. Originally, it was, oh, well, if you have it, you have a cough and you have a fever. Well, then later they had more observations that had to expand to sometimes people have the fever but not the cough. And sometimes people have the rash on their toes. And sometimes, and there's like 30 other now possible options for symptoms. And so they're all putting this together and we are heading toward a model. Your set of tested hypotheses. So once you get all of the pieces kind of lined up, you can call it theory, you can call it a model, eventually, and this sort of applies to physics as well as chemistry, a lot of times you end up with things that eventually evolve into natural law. Gravity definitely falls into the natural law category. It doesn't matter whether you are SpaceX and firing the Dragon up toward the space station or landing it on the barge, or if you are throwing a ball across the yard to somebody on the other side, your kid, your spouse, whatever. It's still going to follow the rules of gravity. So natural laws govern big picture things, at least in terms of general science stuff. So we're gonna, this chapter has a lot of separate topics that are all kind of a little bit chucked together in the chapter together to kind of get you going. So we're gonna skip to a slightly different category now. Phases and matter. Everything in the universe is matter. It's gotta have mass. It's gotta have volume. Doesn't matter if you are an elephant or if you are an electron. Granted, there's a mass difference and a volume difference between an elephant and an electron, but both are matter. So to paraphrase the law of conservation of matter, you don't get to make it or break it, you only get to rearrange it. All bets are off in the world of nuclear chemistry. All bets are off if you have a linear accelerator like they have over at Jefferson Labs. Those are things that violate normal average rules of reality. If you have mass and weight aren't the same thing, okay? Weight is dependent on gravity. So, okay, Bob and Doug, the two dudes who went up to the space station here recently. So they're average normal sized guys. They're like, 175 pounds or something. So probably in the nature of about 85 to 90 kilos. So here on Earth, they literally weigh 85, 90 kilograms. Up on the space station, they weigh about 15 grams because there is only microgravity. If you don't have gravity, you don't have weight. The two things are different, even though we tend to use them really awfully interchangeably here down on the surface of planet Earth. One of the things that you will see is there is, especially when you talk about the terminology, is there is actually a difference. So more kind of general middle schooly-ish things here. Gas doesn't have a shape, doesn't have a volume. It doesn't matter whether you have the long skinny party balloon or if you have the one shaped like Mickey Mouse, the helium that you put in it will fill up the balloon. It also will expand to fill up that balloon, even if it started out in a little chunky, chubby, keg-shaped helium tank. It's going to expand to fill up the desired volume of your balloon. Now, liquid doesn't have a shape. It doesn't matter what shape your glass is in. It's going to start at the bottom and keep filling up. But volume is a pretty concrete idea for liquid. If you have a teaspoon, aka 5 milliliters, or if you have a liter or a 2 liter bottle full of liquid, that's a pretty definite volume. Drop a gallon of milk on the floor and you can realize just how much a gallon of liquid is. Solid, this time we have both definite, and actually I just realized I left out a word. I'm staring at my thing here. It's supposed to say definite shape and definite volume, okay? Hopefully you can extrapolate from that. I realized I left out a word. Other things that influence states of matter. Solid, liquid, gas. In the solids, think of it kind of like Lego bricks, okay? They're all relatively close together, and if you stick all your Lego bricks together, even if you kind of wobble them around a little bit, they're still kind of staying in relatively fixed positions. Liquid is more like having a jar of BBs. They all touch each other, and they're all pretty closely packed, but they slide around. Gas atoms / molecules are kind of like looking at polka dots. If you look at a piece of polka dot fabric, it's like dot, space, dot, space. There's usually no order to them, and there's empty space in between that's all relatively far apart. Yeah, there is a fourth state. There is plasma. Trivia, You can generate plasma in your microwave by nuking a grape. Makes a mess, but hey, you generate plasma. We're not going to spend too much time talking about plasma, at least as far as this chapter is concerned. It'll pop up briefly again later. So the last thing I want to talk about tonight is your periodic table, okay? If you tell somebody, okay, granted, we're not seeing a lot of each other even in our day lives, except for the people we live with. You tell somebody, oh, I'm taking chemistry this semester. The very first image that's gonna pop in their head is, ooh, periodic table, okay? So there are, okay, and actually even this, and this is cribbed from an old set of notes, there are actually more than 109 now. I believe we are at 116 designated ones in terms of separate little boxes on the periodic table, and almost all of them have names. Almost all of them have symbols. My recommendation, okay, and granted, we're doing a lot of this virtually, but this is still a really good strategy. You really need to know the first 100, okay? The ones after 100 are really kind of irrelevant because they're all both radioactive and incredibly short-lived. They have half-lives of like half a second or less. Beginning to become familiar with the name symbol combination is a really valuable strategy for this class and next semester too, okay? It doesn't go away. You can do it a whole bunch of different ways. One of the things that I put in the Canvas shell was a thing that says like nomenclature website, I think it says. If you go to memrise.com, MEMRISE.com, it is a freebie site that allows you to do a whole bunch of different things. You sort of have to drill down if you're looking for specific things, but I believe I put links to 3 different modules on the website there. Let me see if I can share this in a different way and go back over here to Canvas. No, it's gonna let me do this.
Should we know all these elements on Latin language or on English language?
We will talk about the Latin background, but I am assuming that you will learn the standard English spellings. Let me see if I can pull up the bit here on the other part of Canvas. Now, will it let me screen share this? Okay, why does it not show up? Arg. Hang on a second. I'm trying to figure out how to make this share that particular facet of the website. Okay. Now can I see it? Okay. So this is back to Canvas. So chapter notes, homework, handouts. So nomenclature website. Okay. So I put, there's way more than this on there, but I put the links to 2 particular modules, drill sites there. One of them has to do with learning the names of the elements, okay? Granted, you have access to periodic tables, and especially since we're kind of doing this all via Zoom and all that kind of thing. One of the things that's sort of less there's probably going to be less brute force memory, but higher levels of applications because of doing it this way. However, if you learn the names of the elements and which symbols they go with, it will make life infinitely easier for doing this class. Knowing that Fe is iron and Ca is calcium. It's like all of those things becoming nicely familiar and using those will allow you to kind of crunch through this more smoothly. All right, and that's about as far as we're going to get through chapter 1 today. Thursday will definitely be, okay, no syllabus stuff really per se on Thursday. We're definitely going to dive into a big chunk of chapter 1 on Thursday. Any other questions pop up?
Just a random one. Would welding engineering be more like with the physical or analytical side of chemistry?
Engineering is analytical, but it's mixed with the physics. Some things overlap. Things like dimensional analysis never goes away. Okay, dimensional analysis will haunt you through like 8 different college classes. But yeah, engineering is kind of a mix. It's a little inorganic. Of course, engineering is also not one category. Engineering is civil and mechanical and electrical and chemical and
yeah, I specified welding engineering.
oh, for welding. I mean, welding is sort of chemical, sort of analytical, because it's going to depend upon things like the composition of your metals. That's about the best answer I can give you.
Okay, thank you.
I got a question about organic chemistry. I'm transferred to Old Dominion next year.
Okay.
I have to take chemistry 111 this semester and chemistry 112 spring semester. And at the same time, I don't know why, but Old Dominion curriculum showed that we're supposed to also take organic chemistry on the same year, but it's impossible to do it.
Yeah, okay. Traditional method is, okay, if you, let's pretend you're a standard get it done in 4 years, kind of student. The first year is general chem, the second year is organic, and the third year you then split off into things like analytical and biochem and quant and physical chem and other things like that. Yeah, people don't take organic at the same time that they take general. That is not usually how it's done.
Is it difficult? Would you recommend it to do it, or is it impossible at all?
One of the things that's true about organic chemistry is that it is super duper memory heavy. You need to not only be really good at the visualization of how the molecules look, you then also have to remember, well, if I use platinum, I can add across the double bond. If I use vanadyl ack, I can like add a ester to an alcohol, and so forth. It is crazy memory heavy.
Okay. I know that it's impossible to take it.
It would be hard because, for one thing, they're both lab classes. General chem is a lab class both semesters. Organic is a lab class, usually both semesters. Trying to take organic chemistry at the same time as general chem.
Maybe I can do it in summer.
Would be very hard.
Yeah,
keep in mind that summer semesters are shorter.
Yeah, but it's going to be even harder if I take on the same time as
yeah. I don't have a good answer for that. Traditionally, it's general chem as a freshman, organic as a sophomore, and then you start like dumping things that are specific to your major. I was a biochem major, both as an undergrad and a graduate student. But I also took all the extra, I took chemistry and biochemistry as my major, even though the diploma says biochemistry. I actually took all the extra chemistry classes too, like the second semester of PChem and all of that. I was a traditional age student back when I did it. I did it in 4 years, but also because I had 12 credits going in because I was a dual enroll when I was a senior. So I had some credits going into my freshman year. I had some pre-cal and I had some English 101 and 102. It's a heavy load. It's a heavy, I won't say it's impossible because people have done it, but it's really hard to juggle more than one chemistry at a time until you get past the sophomore year. Because usually people take chemistry with physics or chemistry with calculus or physics with calculus. People don't usually double layer chemistries until their junior year is the usual mode.
Yeah, I also don't want to get my GPA broke down.
Yeah, you don't want to tank your GPA, that's for sure.
All right, I'll figure something out.
Ms. Muller, I have a question.
Sure.
So the general rubric of the class, are we reading each chapter and then looking at the notes and then doing the homework, or what's the general kind of flow?
I have taught from so many different textbooks. The textbook is there for your
Like reference?
usage.
Would you recommend just like highlighting the notes and then
I would read the notes, listen to what I have to say as far as explanations go back maybe and look at some of the extra examples because my examples are not the same as the textbook examples. I would do the textbook part as the last part of it.
Okay.
If you want to read ahead in the notes, like I said, I've already loaded a whole bunch of different chapters. So I would say read the notes and or listen to me talk about them. Then later go back to the textbook as you are beginning to work on your homework. The textbook is there so that you have all your references in one place. I don't hate this textbook, but I don't love it either. I've taught from better and I've taught from worse. The one that the Virginia Beach campus uses sucks wind beyond all comprehension. It's by this couple of dudes named Coates and Treacle, and that one just is awful. That's an amazingly awful textbook. The one that we used to use was by a guy named Zumdahl. That's kind of my favorite for 111. However, I have a different textbook that I'm fond of for 112, which is called Holtz, Call, and Robinson. They're all called chemistry, so we always refer to them as by who wrote them. But yeah, my suggestion and kind of sort of would be read the notes and or listen to me talk about it first, then go to the textbook when you start working on your homework.
Okay.
That's kind of my thought about how maybe the best process for it is.
Do you recommend like printing out the notes and highlighting as we're going along, or just
That's up to you. People do it different ways. So many people learn so many different ways. Some people, annotate and highlight and make comments and post-it notes and, eight different colors of highlighters and all that kind of thing. Other people like to put the audio, like from the Zooms and stuff, in the background and listen to it while they're reading the notes. It varies. It's so student dependent.
Okay.
Because like I have 2 kids, okay, and I'm a homeschooler for, this is year 16 for homeschooling for me. My daughter's a senior. My kids have never been to public school until they went to college. My daughter is a brand new, this is her first class she's ever taken this semester. She's a graphic arts person. My son is a mechanical engineering student. He's only going part-time, so he's still working through his degree. But they learn differently. I have 2 kids, and they are really different in the way they process information. And I've taught a lot of students over the years. Some people are real auditory, some people are real visual, some people are a little of both. Some people do better when they write it out. It is so student dependent.
What about as far as the test goes? What will the test mostly be based off? Is your notes?
For one thing, if I didn't talk about it, I'm not going to test you on it. The notes and the homework are going to be the big key focus for tests. There will be less, okay, in a traditional class, there is a portion of my test that's usually rote memory. Obviously, there's not a lot of point in that for doing this digitally, so there's going to be a little less rote memory. For the online tests, it's going to be a little deeper. There are going to be things that you have to think a little harder and think you have to logic your way through them. And I will tip you off. I am the queen of evil word problems. My mentor, who is unfortunately now deceased, was the master of evil word problems, and I like word problems. You will if you look at the homework set for chapter 1, you will see a couple of really strange word problems there. That's something you will see intermittently through the semester because it makes you think.
All right.
Other questions? I will try to figure out how to load this, how to load the Zoom up to so that people who didn't manage to log in, because I was supposed to have 23 people, and at one point I had 19 logged in. I know somebody sent me chat stuff saying I'm having internet connectivity problems, and then other people I didn't see. So Zoom, Canvas is being a little weird. The TCC website's being a little weird. There's at least a half a dozen people, I think, who didn't log in tonight. So I'm going to try to see if I can log this into the system in such a way that people can either view it if they weren't here, or can review it if you want to go back and look at stuff from the beginning of chapter 1. I will do my best to find a way to post it in the next couple of days. This is hard on all of us. This is as hard on me as it is on you guys. It's like I'm really used to talking to my students face to face, and finding out, everything about, what they're having problems with and what they have questions about. And it's just so much harder this way. I think I've actually run over my time a little bit. Anyway, I will see most of you on Thursday then.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye.
You guys.
Bye-bye.